world. It's your girl, Miss LSG, coming to you by way of Exclusive Media Exchange and joined by my most beautiful co-host, Miss Tina Marie. We are here today to chime in on Soul Sessions Take 3. Yes, indeed, baby. Soul damage and soul serious. Let's dive in.
And we are in the studio together. What? Let's toast to that.
Hey.
And y'all see she looking all brown over there, huh, Auntie? Miss LSG went on vacation, so she is ready to dig into the soul sessions. In fact, she inspired me because she was doing her stuff on the plane. And I was like, okay, well, you know what, sis? I'm going to have to dig into mine on the plane, too.
All right.
So we are here together in the studio, and we're so excited to be bringing to you guys chapters 3 and 4. But before I dive into what those titles are, we just want to say thank you to everybody that has already ordered this amazing piece of literature by Dr. Jermone Glenn, as well as everybody that has joined us on this journey. We are mighty grateful that you guys continue to tune in every single Tuesday. So we're also excited about the chapters this week. Oh my goodness.
This week chapters is,
Yeah, so Soul Damage is chapter 3, and then chapter 4 is her favorite. Go ahead with it.
Yes, my favorite. It is so serious, baby. It's so serious.
It's so serious.
Yes.
So we're definitely excited about it, you guys. In fact, there's one part in the, I think the soul damage part. I told Miss LSG, girl, I had to dig in my archives because y'all know, honey, I consider myself an amazing writer. And there was a time when my soul was in trouble. So I was doing what I was calling blogging, but really I was doing some therapeutic writing for myself. And so I wrote a piece called Hurt versus Pain. And I'm going to share a little bit with you as we go through our points, our talking points today. So we are so glad that you guys are able to join us. Y'all know we want some love. Give us some of that conversation love. Drop some hearts in the comments. Let us know that you're here. And we also want to thank you so much for joining. So sis, check this out, girl. I was highlighting, so I started, you guys, like I said, chapter 3 is soul damage. And it starts off with soul ties has become perverted by the enemy. And then it also says what happens to your life happens to your soul. And that is so evidently true. It's evidently true. I don't know who can relate to that. Whoever's watching that can relate to that. How many of you believe that? How many of you believe that what happens to your life happens to your soul? I want to share something with you guys, but I'm going to let my beautiful co-host chime in before I get going, because y'all know I talk a lot.
That's all right. We both talk a lot, so it's all to the good. But I just want to say I agree 150%. And so as I was reading through this, definitely some things that I've gone through that I realized that were more challenging for me to overcome, and some of the things that I feel like I've overcome, but maybe even still have some residue, like because I didn't realize that it was happening to my soul, right? And when it's happening to your soul, how much deeper do we have to go to really deal with that thing? But I certainly want to pass it back to my sis, because I want you to share that. Yes, because what you wrote was like everything. It's deep, y'all. So I want her to go ahead and share that, because I think it's definitely appropriate and will certainly resonate with where we're going today. So let's hear a little bit of that.
Thank you. I'm going to lead into it. So one thing that I did make a note here is that we have to acknowledge what happened and we have to heal from that.
Yes.
So I was reading and I was looking, and it said within soul damage, it says, one too many blows and it's game over. How many times have you had one too many blows to your soul and it's like, it's game over, I'm going to check out of this thing. So I made a note here to research a writing that I did that speaks to the one too many blows. So what I titled this was Hurt versus Pain. It says, if I enter into a store and the clerk is disrespectful, it may hurt my feelings, but as the day go on, I'll get over it. If I enter into a store and slip and fall, then I may suffer an injury which may cause me pain. I may then need surgery to begin the healing process. However, over the course of time, the surgery site will heal, but the pain from the injury may still exist. And my strength will help me learn how to manage the pain. So I went on to say that life brings about much hurt and pain. Viewers, friends, conversationalists have experienced much of both. I define hurt as a temporary emotion which requires little time to get over. I define pain as a soul piercing injury that never heals, but in time can be managed. In my opinion, sis, in my opinion, happiness is the root of hurt. Because when something or someone hurts you, it makes you unhappy. But in time, you get over it and you find happiness again.
Yes.
Right? Love, my friends, is the root of pain because it's tied to your soul. And when something or someone causes you pain, it's long suffering. And its damage can affect your heart and soul. The main two places love reside. You never get over it because of the love you still feel. But in time, you learn how to manage the pain.
Yes.
That was from Tina Marie.
Miss Tina Marie.
That's toast.
Wasn't that deep? That was good.
So yes, so as I was digging through this, thank you so much. As I was digging through this soul damage, that made me think about this writing that I did and how I wrote this during a time that my soul was so damaged. And I know you're going to always try to steer me away from talking about life lessons with Miss LSG, with Lakeisha. But baby, she's doing one on betrayal. And I tell you, the content is so good. And just even listening to her, prepare for that session that you all were talking about betrayal and the damages that it does to your soul.
Yes.
And so there was something so much in there that spoke to me. And I just want to kind of talk a little bit about that piece. I'm trying to remember the piece that y'all was talking. Sometimes we're the betrayer, and that sometimes we're the betrayer. You know what I'm saying? And if we don't acknowledge that, it's just like I said in the beginning. You gotta acknowledge what happened, and you have to heal from it. And so we would just sit up having conversations, and they were in there talking about, as they were getting their talking points together. It's so good. So make sure you tune into that. I'm sorry, I get the rambling on about life lessons, but betrayal, baby, is just a piece of it. So anytime you experience something in the physical, there's something that happens in your soul. So I want to go on to talk about a piece where, and it may be after something that you want to share, so I just want to double check. So let me double check because I'm getting ready to jump into the standards. Because I got a whole lot to say about the standards, baby.
Okay. And I do want to share something before we segue into the standards. I just wanted to share that when you're talking about, and I know last segment we talked a lot about entering into relationships, and I don't want to imply that that's the only way that soul ties happen per se, but there's just so much of that going on that I can't help but to speak to that. So I wanted to just share something here that it talks about casual sex damaging the soul. And have you ever slept with someone and all of a sudden you're doing things outside of your character? You used to be that confident person. You were independent, so to speak, and now you've come so dependent on this relationship per se. So I wanted to talk about that because, again, we can't fight the feeling and act like this stuff ain't happening, right? I know you and I being two married women, we can speak to the married couples, but I also think that we need to make sure that we are addressing those who are unmarried and walking in their singleness, because we both took that journey as well. And there's just a lot that happens during that time, especially to your soul. So for those of you who have a desire to one day be married, I just want to make all of this stuff relevant and conscious in terms of how you're handling yourself in your singleness, because there's so much that transpires through those choices that we make. And I say we because I've been there, right? And just not really realizing how much damage it can do to our soul. So as you are in preparation for your Boaz, making sure that you deal with those things so that's not extraness that you carry on over into your new opportunities for relationships and marriage, if that so be your desire. So I just wanted to put that out there.
I appreciate that. And I was going to chime in and talk about that because I have that highlighted here about you do things that are outside of your character. You find yourself apologizing for something that's not even your fault. That's one thing that can be out of your character. Like you may take on some characteristics or some behaviors from that relationship that are not who you are, and then you apologizing for something that it's not even who you are.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? For example, okay, your new boo, he want to do a smoke blunts all day, girl. Okay, and you tell him you're gonna hit the blunt one time. Right. Next thing you know, you smoking blunts too, right?
And next thing you know, every time he come through, he wanna Roll up.
Roll up. Then now you apologizing because he ain't got nothing to roll up. You know what I'm saying? Things outside of your character. Don't do it. I'm sorry, that was a little teeny movie with the T.I. that threw up in there. But I do want to jump into this standard, how standards damage the soul. Let's talk about that because I'm getting ready to get real deep and I'm going to be very transparent if y'all don't mind. If y'all going to let me be transparent up on this thing. Because I think about, when I saw this, first of all, it talks about comparison is the thief of joy. And Theodore Roosevelt was quoted as saying that, I thought it was somebody else, I ain't gonna lie, but I guess it is Theodore Roosevelt. I trust it. But we all know that comparison is the thief of joy, no matter what it is that we're comparing. But I do recall when I first started dating my husband, that was a new kind of a gentleman for me. You notice I said gentleman. That was a new kind of gentleman for me to date because most of the guys that I dealt with, they were street dudes, right? And I'm being very kind here today, using that description. And so I found myself comparing my husband to this type of guy, and that standard can damage your soul because before you know it, you're placing these expectations on somebody who already have great expectations, right? You know what I'm saying? Who've already, what am I trying to say? They've already accomplished many things, right? It just ain't stuff that was happening in the street. So let me go ahead and talk from my notes because I get to carrying on. Oh yeah, it says a lot of times when we can make who is temporary our forever, and even when we disconnect from that relationship, we carry them with us as our standard. So I wanted to throw that piece in there because even after I disconnected from that type of relationship or dating those kind of people, I still carried that standard into my new relationship with a gentleman. You know what I'm saying? And I'm so grateful that my husband opens my door for me. Like, he's such a gentleman. Now, he might not do the things, and the standards that I was, using was so petty, y'all, materialistic, bullcorn, right? I could have lost out on the greatest love of my life based on the damage that was done to my soul from the standards that I had set based on street life. Right. Because that's what it was for me. Right. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. I was, baby, let me tell you something. I remember calling one time, asking him for something, and he was like, for what? I think it was like, I said, you got $5 or something. He's like, for what? My nerves was bad.
Yeah. Been there.
Honey, because, I like the 5,000, 6,000, What is happening here?
Right.
But I'm just being transparent. I'm keeping it real. That was a standard. But that was from damage that had been done to my soul. And we don't realize that standards can absolutely damage your soul. And then not only, I'll go a little bit further. Even after we got married. We dated, we got married. But then I found myself comparing him to my mentor, people that were mentoring and pouring into my life, to their husbands, because their husbands were leading Bible study, and their husbands were part of boards and mentoring people and doing things like that. And I'm thinking, well, shucks, Carl, I need you to be on the board, in the choir or on the usher board, or teaching Bible study. So all of that damage to the soul. And I'm just keeping it 1,000 up in here. I'm telling you right now, I didn't realize that standards damage the soul. So we have to be very, very careful on whose standards that we're living by. Because if we're talking about living by a particular standard, then we want to talk about the standards of God. Right? The promises and the purpose of God. So make sure that we're very careful when we start placing standards on current relationships that are not, God sent.
Yes. I couldn't agree more. And I know you may or may not have heard this saying, but baby, if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. So standards are definitely imperative, and most certainly you want to make sure that they are in alignment with the principles of the kingdom, because that's what you want, right? You want your mate to be them best selves, right? And so sometimes it's not always going to be, as my sis was just saying, it's not always going to be to the standards that we think that we desire, because I'm sure, as I can speak for myself, because I've been there as well, a lot of that wasn't what we desire. It was what we chose to accept, right? And a lot of it was even beneath where we were, but at the time, what seems fun and what seems entertaining, baby, will be that very thing that will take you down through there. And I'm kind of jumping ahead, But as Pastor Glenn says, sin will take you further than you plan to go, and sure enough keep you longer than you plan to stay.
Ooh,
so
baby, that's good.
It's a lot when you think about that. So most definitely set your standards, and your expectations, I believe, should be realistic. And I shouldn't just say your, but our expectations should be realistic. And they may not be able to meet. If you have 10 of them, they may not meet all 10. But if they can get 7 out of the 10 or 6 out of 10, that's at your discretion. But it's definitely important to have standards set. And there's definitely importance to having some boundaries to limit those things that we are okay with and the things that we're not okay with. Because a lot of times we bargain ourselves because we're trying to shape or help build on something that we can see in a person in these unhealthy relationships. And a lot of times the people don't even see it in themselves. So, we certainly have to be mindful and we have to be careful, because all of what we're doing, like said in earlier, what happens in your life happens in your soul.
Absolutely.
Right? It damages your soul.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that, sis.
Absolutely.
Guys, listen, I want to talk a little bit about unforgiveness damages the soul. And I am in a place right now in my life where I feel like I was when I was doing that writing that I told you, that my soul was damaged. My soul needs restoration. And it is a lot from the pandemic and, the transitioning that I've been doing, relocating and just different things in my life where I feel like my soul really needed a little rescue. And so this soul sessions has been very good for me. So unforgiveness damages the soul. And I just want to read a little bit. It says, forgiveness is a decision of the will. That is so true. Do you know how much will it takes to forgive somebody that has hurt you? It's not a feeling or an emotion. Right. It's a choice. Yes. And that is so dang on true. It's a choice that's good for you. It's not good for the other person. It's good for you. And I want you guys to be mindful of that. I'm going to elaborate in just a second. It's a choice that we will make more than one time to forgive others and yourself. And there is something I believe in the Bible that says, how many times will I forgive you? And it's 70 times, 70 times. Yes. It's a whole lot, okay?
7 times 7,
yes.
Baby.
And it
so
says
over and over.
Over and over. So forgiveness can only be as complicated as we make it. When there's no forgiveness, you have a bunch of hurt people walking around, and hurt souls hurt souls.
Yes.
Instead of growing and living, we're stuck in the past because we are connected to the unforgiveness of the situation. And so I stopped there in my highlight because I just kind of want to talk a little bit about how long it took for me to forgive my dad.
Wow. Wow.
Sorry. It took me a long time. I was holding on to so much pain and so much hurt from that relationship because I think I thought I was an okay kid. Shoot, I was kind of cute. You know what I'm saying? I was cute. I was smart. And I thought, what kind of a man just does not want to be here with his daughter to tell her that she is loved and that she is his everything and that, to teach me the things that I didn't necessarily need to sit around and wait to hear from a boy,
a boy.
And so
talk about it.
Even when, he did finally get out of, incarceration and we began to develop a relationship, there was so much hurt and unforgiveness there that was really, really hard to make that bond. And so, because I was holding on to so much stuff from the past. And I cannot even say that my mom contributed to that because she never had anything bad to say about my dad. It was just me. He wasn't there. He wasn't there. And so when so that affected so many of my relationships with men. And not only with men, even with my own brothers, even with my cousins, just with friends as well. Because I was hurt. I was angry. I was upset, disappointed, so disappointed. And so when I think about that, I think about how important it is for me to forgive now in this season of my life because I'm holding on still to some unforgiveness for some people who betrayed me, and I'm still just so mad about it, and I'm still so hurt about it, and I just don't know how to find that will that I need to forgive them.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
Unforgiveness damages the soul. So if you're walking around here in unforgiveness, you need to find the will You need to find some help.
Yes.
To get you to, past that. I'm sorry.
Yes. No, you are fine. Thank you so much. That's what conversation is about, being transparent. Because we're not sitting here before you because we're perfect. We're sitting here before you because many of these things we've either walked through or we're going through. And as you spoke so heavily and so nicely, thank you so much, on the importance of forgiveness. One thing I just want to elaborate on is that forgiveness is for you. Right?
Yes.
It's for you so you can be released. It's not for the individual. If you choose to forgive, you're not saying to the person whatever they did was okay. You're not condoning their behaviors or their choices, but what you're doing is releasing yourself.
Absolutely.
So as you just said, from a different perspective, that will allow you to then move on, because many of us are walking around with so much damage in our soul. And you guys, do you know that if it's doing that much hurt to us, what is it doing to our spouses? What is it doing to our children? Because many of us hold so much resentment that sometimes we withhold being able to allow them being our children or spouses, to have relationships outside of things because of how we articulate it affecting us. Right? So now it's not just damaging our soul, but now here we go passing down cycles or creating a curse that could then impact our children or our children's children. And that's not okay. So we definitely need to deal with what's happening in our souls. The soul damage we need to take so serious.
So serious. And guys, it's so crazy because in my notes here, I was supposed to tell y'all this part, but I was so caught up in the forgiveness piece. It says we can ask the Holy Spirit to show us what we are carrying in our souls personally. Maybe it's rejection, fear, or fatherlessness that has been weighing us down. So how do we heal from the damage in our souls? How do we shake the events and trauma that has brought us to this moment where we are wounded and vulnerable? So that's what y'all just saw, my vulnerability. And so that was one thing that, like I said, I was carrying in my soul and I didn't realize it. And when I was able to realize it, and I did get help through, prayer and fellowship and the Word of God. My dad has since, he's gone on to glory now, but before he went on to be with our Heavenly Father, man, he was a mighty, mighty great dad to me. And I'm just so mighty grateful that we were able to heal our relationship and have an awesome father-daughter bond. So you guys, listen, unforgiveness damages the soul. So let's be mindful of that. So now we're going to move right on into I am so serious, because it is time to handle the business of the soul. And let me tell you one thing. It's a time to find a lot of relief with AKA means breakthrough, healing, and deliverance. So you know what? I put number 1, and I think I wasn't sure. I think in this in the soul Selah, is it Selah?
Yeah, the soul Selah.
So we've got these 10 things. So I chose number 1.
Okay.
I just said I was going to choose number 1 for the sake of the broadcast, guys, because I wasn't going to go through all. I think it's like 10 of them. It's 10 things. So I wrote down number 1. And number 1 says, admit that your sexual identity needs to be reshaped. We can only change what we acknowledge. If we don't acknowledge that something is broken, we won't be able to fix it. As Shannon Etheridge put it, it's okay to feel sexually broken or have soul ties that still need cutting. However, it's not okay to stay there, ignoring your need for healing and freedom. Acknowledging where you are and what needs reshaping is the first step to healing. So the reason that I chose that one is because that's one thing that I've struggled with so much in my life is my, not my sexuality, because, I'm strictly, Tina Marie with the T is going to come flying through there right quick. Yeah, because I'm strictly. But what I have struggled with is, I guess, what I portray. So I wrote here, I says, who I portray is not who I am. Because I come across as sexy and the one who will break out the big guns, when it's all said and done. But, and really, in actuality, and if I can be transparent with you guys, the sexual abuse that I endured in my life, the molestation and the rape has really hindered any sexual exploitation for me. And I'm not saying that for y'all to be in nobody's inbox, though.
Right. All right.
I'm just simply, talking about the subject at hand.
Yes.
And how, because I'm working on my soul, these are some of the things that I'm learning, because I'm so serious about how I'm finna break out these big guns, girl.
Yes, so thank you so much. I'm certainly with you, girlfriend. I highlighted an area in that one, and I'll share. I kind of highlighted 2 other ones, but I did highlight in number 1 where it talks about needing to be reshaped, is acknowledging where you are and what needs to be reshaped is the first step in our healing, right? Because some of us, we know we want to be healed, like, right? We know what we want,
sure.
But we sometimes jump the gun, right? So we need to make sure that we're taking it by stride and taking it in steps, and that first step being that we acknowledge, where we are and what needs to be reshaped. But then the other ones that and I'm so sorry, I need to correct, because there's not 10, there's 5. I'm sorry, I was thinking of something else, but there's 5. Okay. So we want to correct that, because we don't want you to think that we're not doing our part, because we are. So the other one was, or the other 2, identify the reoccurring theme. And I'm not going to read it verbatim, but basically I identified with that because I am a survivor of abuse as well. And when I think about that, I think about the cycle of abuse. And I think about how in a cycle, it's something that's repeated, right? So we need to make sure that we identify the themes, that you identify the cycles, because oftentimes that's one of the only ways that you can break it, is once you can identify it. Secondly, the other one that I resonated with was learn the lesson. What's the revelation? I don't know about you, but me, I often will receive revelation through conversation. So sometimes I just need to talk things out. And as I'm talking things out, there's a revelation that will come. And I'll oftentimes have my own questions answered, or if there was something that I didn't have confirmation to, I'll receive that. But basically making sure that we try to search things in relationships to satisfy, understanding that we will sometimes try to search things in our relationships to try to satisfy a deeper, what am I trying to say? A deeper attraction for you, right? So for example, you talked about your father. So myself too, growing up without my dad in my life, one of my love languages is affection and quality time.
Sure.
And so I looked for that in relationships with the young men, or the young man I should say, that I was dating. And when he gave me that, then I exchanged whatever to be able to receive that. So it wasn't even about necessarily adhering to the standards and what expectations. I can't lie and say I hadn't been taught these things, because these were conversations that had been had with with me, from my auntie to my grandma, and they didn't put it in these terms, but I understood what they were saying. But baby, when you're soul searching and you find that thing that you feel like fills that void in you, it's a dangerous place to be. And that's why that's something that I share with my husband all the time, as we have all girls, like even our grandchildren are girls. So so it's just so important to make sure that you're modeling the behavior, because that's what they're going to start basing their standards and expectations off of. And I didn't have that, so I had no idea how somebody really should have been treating me. And so it allowed me to be vulnerable. But taking me back to the point of sharing the learned lesson, was that I was searching for something deeper. And when I found that, I began to bargain myself for what I needed to fill a void. So as many people thought, me being young, and at the time I think I was 15 when I had my first boyfriend, they want to call you fast and put these labels on you, but I wasn't being fast. I was soul seeking, and I found what I was not receiving, because my mother was a very hardworking single mom, and she did what she had to do to make sure we had what we needed, but that was something that was lacking for me. And when I found it somewhere else, the rest is another book.
another soul session.
So again, just being raw and keeping it real, right? Because we're going to keep it real and wholesome while winning.
Because that's what we do. And you know, I love so much when you say this, because it's so true. How many times do you and I have conversation and we get revelation?
Yes.
I love that. I don't know if she made that up, but it's good, okay? Because every time she says, well, I don't know about you, sis, because I get revelation through conversation. And she showed right, because we was conversating before the broadcast. And I said, you know what? I'm just not thinking about that, what we talking about. So I love when you say that, because that is so mighty true.
Yes.
But I'm going to talk a little bit. Now, I know that you also wanted to talk about the where was we at, child? I didn't turn the page. I'm so sorry, guys, because I be moving
it's
fast.
So deep. I hope you guys, if you've gotten this book, like I hope that you've gotten it, because I know you might. Thank you for chiming in and listening to us, but you need the book so you can let this thing resonate.
Yes, I know that when earlier you was getting your notes together, you had your sticky notes everywhere, all in the studio, y'all, and you said unconfessed sin is like cancer to our souls. So I was gonna talk a little bit about when I wrote my book. So you guys know that I'm the author of Confessions of a Housewife, Secrets She Can No Longer Keep. And when I went into my holy place and into my confession place with the Lord, it was a reason. Because unconfessed sin is like a cancer to your soul. Man. And my soul was just so messed up and just so damaged, and I couldn't understand. I was at a place in my life where I didn't understand if my pain is truly supposed to be my purpose. So when I got down in that thing and I said, God, when is this pain going to end? Wow. My daddy then went on to glory. All the molesters are dead. But then one of the guy that did the rape, he got out, and so that just took me out of here. I think that just threw me into a whole nother headspace, and trauma seems like it happened all over again, and I just didn't know what to do but to get on my knees and go to God and confess, and he just kept giving me the title of my book. Confessions of if you see the cover, it's the hoe, the HOE is highlighted. And so I was like, well, what is you saying, God? I ain't no hoe now. This ain't of you guys. This is this of the devil? Because what is this? But it was those unconfessed sins that I had in my body, and it was mainly that I had not forgiven myself. I had not forgiven myself for a sin that was committed against me. Right. That I was blaming myself for all these years. And so I really like this part where he talks about if you don't confess your sin, it's like a cancer to your soul. And we know that we hate cancer.
Yeah.
We hate cancer.
Yeah, for sure.
So as we go down through this thing, and I'm sure you want to chime in on that, it's a change of mind. So through it all, I really just had to have a change of mind. I just had to really get some of God's word in my heart and start reading and getting scriptures buried inside of me to know that I'm his daughter. He loves me so much, and that all those things that happened to me are not my fault. And I had to finally forgive myself, and it was like a freedom, you guys. There's a piece in here when it talks about unforgiveness has its power, right? And not necessarily because we're still in the relationship, conversation, or fellowship. The only power it really has is how the situation didn't work. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And so I'm just so mighty grateful for
soul sessions,
because I'm so serious.
So one thing that resonated with me too in that very same chapter is, in order to be forgiven, we must start with repentance. And as you said earlier, it is a change of mind. So when we're repenting, we are asking for God to not just forgive us, but to help us to learn his way and to to do things the way that they should be done, because our spirit tells us what to do, but it's our souls that are holding on to the grief and pain that is clogging up our lives. So that is why one of God's commands is to forgive, because truly it is not of his will for us to live how some of us have been living, with so much resentment and so much hurt or pain and relevance to things. I mean, think about it. The enemy comes to do three things: kill, steal, and destroy. And there's so many marriages, so many family dynamics, and just even like as it talks about in the Bible in Revelation of the last days, children and parental relationships being bartered nowadays as a result of a lot of us being clogged up with unforgiveness. I know it takes time, and it is definitely a choice, as Ms. Tina Marie stated earlier on, but I pray that we all can find that within ourselves, and I'm certainly saying all because we're not making ourselves exempt, right? Like I said earlier, we are doing this because we too are living this or have lived through it. So I'm just praying that we all can find it within ourselves to forgive yourself and to forgive those who may have, done different acts or interpreted different behaviors that may have hurted you or, brought on whatever type of resentment that you're holding. Because at the end of the day, if we don't choose to forgive, we're only holding ourselves hostage, right? Because you look at people and you like, they just talk to me like, ain't nothing never happened. Like, you like, hey, what's up? Like, you never did that to me, or you never said that, or whatever the situation is. Why? Because they done moved on, right? And for those of us who lack forgiveness for ourselves, we are the ones still stuck and wallowing in what we have not chosen to forgive. Because remember, when you forgive, you release, and you allow yourself to be free from those things that are so serious.
So serious. Okay, guys, so there's one more thing in this I'm so serious piece that I want to cover. It is so good. And just earlier when I was talking about how I had to get into that holy place with God and confess those unconfessed sins like a cancer to my soul, is because I was on some real foolery. And I'm finna sum it all up for you right here because I was on some bullcorn. Now, it says we must learn not to look at moments for the pain they cause. We may not get to change what it was, but we can change the way that we see it.
That's good.
I've learned to look at each moment in my life as a teachable moment. So nothing is coined as the worst time of my life or remembered as something that destroyed me. Some things we may have thought were meant to destroy us, but when we change our point of view, we can understand God used that thing to make us better.
Yes.
We learned the lesson. The problem is we have too many people still stuck in the past and didn't get the lesson out of the past. I like to call the past Stupidville. Don't get me wrong. I've been through Stupidville plenty of times. If we're going to go through Stupidville, we should come at least to learn the lesson behind it.
Yes.
If I'm coming out of that place, I can assure you, I'm not buying property there, living there, no going back there.
Right.
I'm going to be smarter because I went there. Have you driven through Stupidville?
Been all down through that thing.
So, guys, listen. It's been wonderful.
Yes.
This has been an amazing conversation on today. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, I would agree.
And
yes.
Soul Sessions is here for the next, I would say, 3 to 4 weeks.
Because we got a few more chapters.
We still got a few more chapters. And so we're going to wrap this thing up. Sis, you got any more you want to talk about?
I just want to reiterate, because I spoke earlier and I said I was jumping ahead. I just want to remind everybody that sin, it don't seem that bad when you doing it. Oh, that ain't gonna hurt nothing. Oh, if I'm just gonna go over there, we ain't gonna do nothing, or whatever the thought may be. But I just want to say this: it'll always take you further than you plan to go, and keep you longer than you plan to stay.
Yes,
so
indeed.
It is that serious. It's so serious.
Yes. So you guys, listen, if you want to get a copy of this amazing literature from Dr. Jermone Glenn, we do have a link that will be included in this broadcast. We're so grateful for those of you that have already purchased the book and that have been joining us on this journey. Go ahead and drop some comments below. Now, we got to do a couple plugs before we get off the air today. So the first one, you want to go ahead and do Mary Kay, or you want me to do? Because that skin looking good, girl. It's looking good.
It's all right. I'll do Mary Kay. I didn't bring my little example today, but the Mary Kay, we talked about this last week as a sponsor. We basically pointed out their satin hands. And we talked about how satin hands is just so needed right now as we are all washing our hands constantly. If you're not washing them, you're putting on the sanitizer and things that are drying out our hands. So satin hands is definitely something that will keep your hands feeling smooth, baby. So we want to shout out Mary Kay for their sponsorship and just promote them. And that is something that if you are interested in, drop some links in the comment, or not links, I'm sorry, drop some comments, and we will certainly be able to send you some links where you'll be able to connect with either myself or Miss Tina Marie to be able to get connected, right? So that's something just special for all of our guests. So Mary Kay, thank you.
Yes, and we're so grateful, guys. We serve alongside I call her the queen of collaboration, the
That's
wonderful
right.
and beautiful Miss Latricia Lomax.
The
so
catalyst.
yes, baby, she keeps us empowered and always encouraging us to collaborate and do things and step out there out of our comfort zone sometimes. And so that's what we're doing in this thing.
Yes,
and we're
we
so
are.
grateful for her support and her encouragement and her empowerment. So thank you, Miss Latricia.
Thank you.
So listen, guys, we have this mask that was made by Be Our Mask Up. That's yet another exclusive media exchange collaboration. And we're going to drop a link in the comments because I know that I took a little photo the other day, but wait till y'all see the team photo, honey, that we're going to be doing. It's going to be everything.
Yes.
And so we're going to be all wearing a mask for you guys in our beautiful
Sorry.
photo shoot. So you guys, this is my, I'm repping my team right here.
And I'm living my best life.
Yes, auntie, living her best life. So you guys, like I said, there will be a link in the post. I'm over here trying to get a little promotion code going though, but I'll let y'all know if that happens. But we want to say thank you so much for
Yes.
tuning in again for another Conversations with Miss LSG and Tina Marie with the T. And you guys, every Tuesday,
Every Tuesday,
4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Time.
But listen, guys, y'all know that I'm in Texas, so I got to throw in the 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, okay?
Right.
Because my people be mixed up. They be like, well, I thought you said 4, and I be like, girl.
Right.
Because we're usually
Set it straight.
virtual. We're usually virtual, but if we have our way in this thing
We would be together all the time.
all the time.
Yes.
All right, so you guys take it easy. We will see y'all next week. Same wonderful channel,
Same time.
same platform. Tina Marie with the T and
Miss LSG.
bye.
Bye-bye.